Hello and welcome back to another video. I'm Tara Bahal, founder of Louder Society. Louder Society is a non-profit organization that aims to enhance health through art and creativity. We help people to develop higher emotional intelligence through art education and awareness. We have been operating in the city of Calgary since 2015, and throughout this time we have provided several different public art projects and events. Since the pandemic has started, we initiated a new project with artist stories and health awareness series, where we connect with artists, art therapists, music therapists, and mindfulness coaches from all around the world and share their stories and knowledge here on Instagram. Later, we share these videos on our YouTube channel. And so if you're watching this video on your YouTube and you're interested in health and creativity, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell so you will get notified every time we post a new video. Also, I have to mention that we promote diversity, therefore you will be seeing videos from us that are posted in different languages. Today we have another amazing artist who will be joining us to introduce themselves, and we'll learn about their journey and their story. She is a visual artist, also a creative wellness facilitator. But while she's going to join us and while our viewers are going to join our live, I'm just going to play a music by a Calgary-based artist, Eves Gravel, who goes by Eves and the Talent, and this song is called Easy.
She ain't easy, troubled but pretty, makes me forget my ABC. It ain't easy, down on one knee, you've never seen all of me. She ain't gonna brawl, fight against this wall. She's gonna stay put and stand tall. It ain't close at all, trying to break this fall, hoping no one has to crawl.
Hi, Paula.
Hey,
How are you doing today?
really good. Thanks. Thanks for having me. Hello to
Thanks for
everybody.
coming.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's jump into it. Please introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself, where you um, here with us, and how long have you been making art?
Okay. So, of course, I am Paula Timm. I am an artist, visual artist, and multidisciplinary artist. And I can get into what that really means later if you'd like.
Please do.
Um, yeah. And how long have I been an artist? Well, practicing as, like really intentional as a career, 10 years. This weekend, actually, just had
Nice.
my 10-year anniversary. But all of my life, quite honestly. So I think sometimes the whisper of creativity comes into people when they're super young and they just stay with it. And some choose it as a career, and some just do it sort of as a hobby, maybe.
That's true. And which city are you joining us from?
I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Are you from Calgary yourself?
No, actually, I grew up in a few places in a few different provinces, but Calgary, my husband and I moved here in 2005, 6, around there. So that is, yeah, it's been a while now, 15 years.
Nice. All right. My next question to you is that why and how did you start making art? I know that you said like you've been kind of doing
Mm,
this your entire life, but when did it become more serious and you actually took it as your profession?
yeah, it's for me, it's kind of a neat story. I think we all come to the decision of being an artist in different ways. And for me, um, I think I went to a special art school. It was sort of a creative based school called Waldorf. Some may know, recognize that name. And so it was in the 70s. And so everything was sort of based around creativity, but not the word art. So we did everything creatively. And I never really considered myself an artist. I just loved that part of life and doing the creative stuff. So we worked with our hands. We tooled wood and we tooled beeswax and formed sculptures, and we did crayon work, form drawing. We did body work called eurythmy. And so movement and expressing was sort of in my bones at a young age. um, and so when I got into public school and junior high and high school and there was art class, I was really excited about it, but I found I didn't really fit into the box of what they called art, and the teachers and I just felt that sort of disconnect, like they didn't quite understand what I was about, and I totally didn't understand the rigors of art class in junior high and high school. So I stuck with it, but it felt confusing. And of course, coming from this very creative space to this very regimented space, I was confused. And so through some struggles with family stuff in those years, when I got out of high school, I was like, I don't know what I want to be, but I know I want to work with art and people and healing. And so that was in 1991 when I graduated. And I just always had this thread of belief that somehow, some way, I would find myself to where I am today. And so I am going to be 48 soon. And in the last 10 years, I have been making that dream that I had in 1991 a reality, which is to work with people in the community, showing them creative expression as a way of healing.
Nice.
So I had my own encounter with both mental health, but it wasn't defined back then as mental health, and it wasn't even defined as anxiety or depression. It was just I had a heavy life. There's lots going on. And then I got an illness, so a physical illness, and brought me into, hospital many, many times, and
Oh, wow.
eventually surgery. And through the down phases of that illness, an autoimmune disease, and
Mm.
I would be on the couch, or in the hospital convalescing. And so in those slower moments of my life, I found time and space, the capacity to consider that niggling idea of wanting to be creative, and thinking maybe I could find my way back to being creative. And so those quieter moments on disability, I would
Mhm.
create. Um, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to do this every day. It feels so good to be creating and making art and doing all the things. And then I'd get well and I'd get busy and life would pack and stack and I would soon drop the creative practice in exchange for the busyness of life, right? And then that pattern, was most of my 20s and into my 30s. And so I had this catastrophic incident happen in surgery. And I was in ICU, and I woke up and I was like, okay, this pattern has to stop. This like heavy sickness and, hospitalization and almost losing, the chance to live. I promised myself I would live in creativity and in joy, and really focus on that joy factor and not being led with the fear of not doing it, not being good enough, the fear that kept me from chasing that dream, from experiencing a creative practice every day. So that has been the last 10 years of me, getting well, both mentally and physically, and, spiritually and creatively. And so over these last 10 years, I've been creating that world that I dreamed about.
Beautiful. So how much do you think your creative practice affected your health based on your story now?
I think they're in tandem. I mean, I think it's healthy to express. And I lived in a world that I didn't know that as a child or as an adult. I had a knowing of it, and I did it. Obviously, the story is proof that I was being creative. So I don't think it's the cure to being healthy. I just think it's one of the factors to being healthy. And I mean, I definitely think the trauma therapy I did helped me to really fully realize the positive effects of being creative. Right. So I think that we all should find a way to be creative, whether it's, carving wood or moving thread with our hands or yarn or a paintbrush, but somehow the creative expression helps us in a language with ourselves that maybe words can't define how we're feeling. Until we give it some space to come out of us in a creative form.
Yeah, the space is really important.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just making some notes here.
Yeah, please do. I love that I'm sitting in the sunbeam. I'm in a basement, if you can believe that. And I have two windows in front of me and beside me. And with this cold snap we've been in, I'm fully enjoying this sunbeam.
Nice. So, what is the theme of your own artworks? Does it even have a theme?
It's a good question. I think to express is the theme. And sometimes I come into my work, the creative work, to just express. And sometimes, I might have an intention to create a piece of art. But often I just come in to express. And so, from a digital doodle or a line work piece in front of me, my themes are, just to sort of be on that journey with myself and convert the internal emotional language into something in front of me and not have to be so analytical about it. Which for me, I try to tread between this beautiful world of whimsy and emotion and non-language to very analytical. So I try to give permission to just, when I'm creating, just create.
And then do you see your creations sometimes turn into series, or it's always just something based on that emotion that you're experiencing at the moment?
For sure. I have done series, and it was kind of sweetly reminded yesterday, a friend who bought a piece of artwork 10 years ago. That's how I became their friend. They bought a piece of my work, and it was the series that I had done, and they were these little 4-inch blocks, and I did like 150 of them. And so that was obviously a large series of very small things. And lately, I'd say over the last, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so, it's been a lot of flower work. And whether it's in line drawings or digital or painterly, there's a lot of a lot of flower work. And then I love to do mixed media and collage and stuff like that. So when that kind of expression for me, that type of artwork happens, it can be very down the rabbit hole, so to speak. And so it's like, for me, a collage and mixed media is like sculpting a piece of art. And sometimes I go in with an intent, but sometimes it's like I have folders of images, like paper images that I've painted or drawn over the years, and they speak to me. So I collect them in this little folder. And so when I'm in the mood to build something in a collage type of way, I'll go through and sort of handpick the items that are speaking to me. And it's almost like being in a dream state where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to pick that character and that image, that background, that landscape, and pile them up. And so then that is like the loose story that I can start to script on the visual like canvas.
Right.
So for me, I know a lot of people, when they see my art on a wall, they'll say, how many artists are showing on this wall? And it's all me, because I do have so many different styles. And I know, the traditional way is, pick a style and excel at it. And I haven't got there yet. I feel like in that rebirth that I've had, I'm still a 10-year-old, and I still don't want, I want to just create. Like, I don't want to be bound by a style yet.
I actually resonate with that a lot. Do you mind actually taking off your headphones? I think it would make the sound. Just cutting off a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that's better.
There we go.
Awesome. By the way, did you go to an art school too, or no? You just did it kind of individually, independently?
Yeah, definitely independently. During those years of convalescing on the couch or in the hospital, I did a lot of reading or YouTube watching on a certain, just on arts and in general. And so that was my enjoyment, and I know that influenced me. I've taken a few classes over the last 25 years, but not that many. So a lot of what I've created is just experientially learning.
I believe that's what can make, some independent artists more successful than the artists who go to an art school, because you don't get all of those feedbacks that they tell you, you have to pick and choose this particular style, or if you're doing this, you have to always do this way or that way, or, like just trying to guide you, but in a way they direct your work that is not necessarily the way that you want it to be. So I think that's a plus sometimes.
Yeah, I see it. It might be age related or personality related, because I do see a blend of both styles that come from whether you're schooled or if you're self-taught. But yeah, I think one of my aunts, she went back to school in her 40s, and she got her master's of fine art in Saskatchewan, and she's definitely not the traditional in a box type of person, and she just has a way to express her voice creatively, and it definitely is like one style. But yeah, it's an interesting question.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to my next question. I guess, do you count your pieces that you make?
Not necessarily. I do record for shows that they enter. And at times I think I'm going to get more regimented and do that, but it hasn't happened yet. So I would say there's at least 100 pieces that have been recorded, and a lot of works that, don't make it because they don't go to a show.
But do you keep them, or are you going to reuse them for recreating another piece?
A lot of them have sold. and some that haven't are in storage here for the day that they might get shown. And the pieces that I think still, you know, representative of my journey or of a style of work I did that I'm proud of, I keep and I don't rework. But yeah, most of my pieces that I'm proud of and that haven't sold, I still have in the house.
Great. Yeah. I have those kind of pieces too that I'm like, I probably don't want to even sell this one. I like it. I want to keep it for myself.
I've let those pieces go.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've sold them too, because I think, I mean, the way I thought of it is like, yes, I love it, but if I can't keep all my successful pieces, so it forces me to create more if I let them go, even if they're really valuable to me because I enjoy them.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. I'm gonna keep that in mind. All right. Would you like to collaborate with other artists?
I do quite a bit in maybe in a non-traditional way. I often seem to get myself involved with collaborative art projects in a sort of public way. So in an intentional with other artists way, like a couple of years ago for the Women's Center in Calgary, I invited 4 other women to be on a panel with me, and we decided to create a project where the participants of the Women's Center came together and collaboratively worked on a piece that we envisioned for them. So that's like a very public kind of way of working with, you know, capital A artists and welcoming, you know, non-artists to come in and create with us. That template really is interesting to me. I value working and being influenced with other people. But as there was a show I did a few years ago, and Brittany Tuff and Samantha Melick, we each like had influence on one piece and passed it to the next person in their own studio, like not in the same space at the same time. So that was like a small collaborative piece, but working on, you know, more of those collaborative public pieces is what I've done with other artists.
And so like this particular work that you said, was it just like a painting or sculpture? You all kind of contributed to it?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mixed media piece. So I think there were 4, 6, and 8-inch pieces that we, you know, each had a session on. So they were painterly, and that they probably had a little bit of paper on them as well, like a collage or something. I can't quite remember the process, but yeah, each of us had some influence on it. It was really, really a beautiful outcome, I thought, to those pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we did a very similar project to that at high school, and some of the pieces turned out really well, and some of them turned out really bad because some people just got sloppy and they didn't really care. They're just like, I'm just gonna throw whatever on it. But some people were taking their time and thinking that, okay, what goes with this now, and like really reading the work and not just, you know, do whatever. But I think generally with visual arts, it's a little bit collaboration takes a different role or different shape, as opposed to if it was music, you know, or if it was even a film, you know, it works differently, you know.
I love it. Yeah, like the last year I submitted a plan to the city for their micro art grants, and so I worked with a community in Forest Lawn area, Albert Park, Radisson Heights, and so they have a garden there, a community garden, and the sea can sits there, and it was like a rusty orange can, so I had it painted out by a local company, Tough Painting, and then I had no plan except for to invite the community to come and make their mark on the sea can. And so it was like 20 feet long by 10 feet high, and it was a warm day in August. And so all sorts of friends and non-friends of mine came to the park, and they made their mark. And so you know, a full 8-hour session of people painting. At the end of it, we were left with, you know, balloons and happy faces and stars and rainbows and flowers. And so they were all different kinds of pieces of like scattered throughout this huge big mural. And then I took the next few weeks to kind of carve a synchronicity throughout those marks. And so, you know, the common element would be the palette of colors that we picked. And I didn't cover over really anything particular, but just sort of blended things to make it feel homogenous, you know, like a completed piece.
Bringing more harmony to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. All right. See, what is my next question? What is your perspective on art and creativity in general?
Well, I think we covered that quite a bit, didn't we? Like, I love creative time for myself as an artist, but also see it as a value for those that don't call themselves an artist or a creative, because I think there is such power in seeing our own hands make something that's never occurred before those hands made it. And I think it's a really powerful journey, and I think it's scary for some people, and I think you know, the perfection issues come up whether you're a capital A artist or not, and you know, giving yourself permission to be the imperfect creator is you know, I think one of the most powerful journeys that we can enter.
That's true. Yeah, because we are all the imperfect creators. We all do make mistakes, but you don't need to beat yourself for it. It's just part of the process.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it's not an easy statement to make for me either. It's something I struggle with, just that the desire to be perfect and to be seen perfect. And even saying those words, it sounds kind of awkward for me because, you know, I allow a lot of imperfection, but there is, you know, a fear of judgment or a fear of fitting in and not fitting in, really. So yeah, and I feel like that all surfaces and gets resolved as I create, because, you know, to be maximum creative alongside the critic, you know, you have to have a discussion with that critic and ask it to either, you know, quieten, be alongside us for the creative journey, or it will overtake it. And I think that's when, you know, not the best work occurs, because that critic takes over.
So do you think feedback makes a huge difference in the works of art in general, or the artist should really be always very autonomous and not care about any feedback or judgment or criticism?
Oh, that's a powerful question. I think it really depends on where you're at in life and your career as an artist. I think, you know, number one, what screams in my mind is trust to, like, the person that is giving you feedback. Sometimes it might be well-intentioned, but if there isn't sort of like a bond of trust between you and the person that's giving you the feedback, it can be difficult to receive. I've done some work and had feedback, and it's been an amazing push. It's not always easy to receive, but it's pushed me and it's helped me grow. But there was trust there for that to be received, and in that vulnerable state of, like, I hear you. I'm pretty sure you're not saying I suck, and I'm pretty sure you're saying, why don't you try something bigger and grow into that bigger, and so if I can hear that in that place of safety and with boundaries of trust, it's an amazing thing to hear. But so I think, you know, I don't know, maybe having some sort of boundaries about what space you need to be in before you hear criticism or feedback or critiques. Yeah.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Are you working on anything right now? What are you working on?
I am. I can't really see it in this view, but I've got a commission. There we go.
Nice.
So this is a piece that I'm doing for a second time for a commission. So the first time it was commissioned, it was a lady who asked me to do that flower thing that you do. And so I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And she's like, but can you match my bedding? And I was like, oh gosh, okay, I'm not really sure if I'm like getting that specific feedback, right? So I was like, yeah, what color is it? And so it was these colors, which is basically a beige brown and a deep charcoal. So, and then into the painting, she said, could you add some crystal skulls? And I was like, what is a crystal skull? So I started to create that, and she's received that painting and loves it. And so since then, I've had another person request if they could get the same painting. So I'm on to the version 2 of it, which is kind of fun, just to, again, that series. So this is a very painterly painting. It's actually, it's 48, it might be 60 inches by 30 inches, this one. Yeah, so it started with a drawing and then a painting, and so I'm just carving in some details and shading right now.
Nice. What do you use for the sparkly part?
Oh, does it look sparkly?
It doesn't, but now that you mentioned, I'm just wondering what material would you use for the sparkles?
Oh, the crystal. No sparkles. It was just 2 tones. Okay. But basically, she just got like a skull hidden within the daisies. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very nice. All right. What are your recommendations for those people who want to start practicing art?
Just start. The trap that I think we all get into is that you have to have the right studio, the right supplies, and the right state of mind, and what else? Yeah, the right training. And so, it's okay. And so, with all that being said, all you need really is a piece of paper and a pencil, and you can start creating, right? Right. So I caution all of the people that I've been teaching over the years to really limit when they start a class. Like, don't feel like you need to go and buy, $100 worth of products. Like, really start small, and go from there. Because what we often get trapped in needing to, maybe if I just buy one more thing, that will be the product that will open me up and get me creative. But really what it is just starting and making a practice, like a daily commitment to it, and making it small. Like, don't make it an overwhelming commitment. So maybe it's 2 minutes a day when you have your coffee. I always try to attach a new habit with something that is already a habit that is entrenched that I enjoy. So I love my morning coffee. And so I often will attach a new chore to the coffee being the reward to the thing.
That's a great way to start your creativity.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome. My next question to you is that who are you most inspired by for yourself or your art, or both?
Yeah, I think I'm just inspired by my friends that are artists. Like, and I think just seeing my creative friends, like myself, having a journey that is unto themselves, but is supported by the community. And so it's like, I think it's really brave to be an entrepreneur. And I think it's really brave to be an entrepreneur who's an artist, because you have to do those things in tandem. And so I'm inspired by my girlfriends, like Brittany Tuff. She's an artist in the city. She's a watercolor artist. She's a mom now, a young child who takes lots of attention, and so she's got goals, and she sort of plans in the future and plans how to set those goals into play. And so that I find tremendously inspiring. My friend Stacey Wallichow is a local artist, and she too is a mom and an artist and an entrepreneur. And I think it's super brave of her to just keep you know, inventing the creative projects that she works on and putting them out there and finding different ways to market them. So I find those kinds of things inspiring. They might not totally directly influence both my practice or the outcome of my practice or the outcome of my business, but they keep me in the game.
Right. That's great. Sorry, let me just quickly check my sound here. I'm not getting enough. All right. Sorry about that. All right. Actually, I had another question, you know, related to this question.
Yeah.
Who encouraged you the most while you were going through your art journey?
Wow. That is a good question. Sometimes it was my husband, in a way that was before I sort of had that crisis in my life where I focused on it. But, you know, he was always supportive in a way that it wasn't direct feedback. It wasn't direct positive encouragement, but it was just support that it was okay to be creating. And for me, I needed that sort of silent, quiet support to take up space, you know, in my creative practice. And so then I think the next leap, when I had the sort of like decision to really focus in this last 10 years, it's really been a multi-layered community support. And it's something that I needed to learn how to accept and invite and continue to be supported by. And so I guess, and what that really comes down to is the personal therapy work that I put in to be supported, to know that I wanted to go for this, to quieten the critic that was in my head, and to continue and receiving that community support to say, yeah, keep going, you know, in ways that might not be direct, but just by, you know, the quiet support again.
Just being there. You touched on a very important point. You know, the community support is so important. And I think for artists particularly, because I sometimes think it's better to just mute the background noise if I want to be successful, because otherwise there's too many things happening, too many people are talking, and none of them are actually being helpful. None of them are actually giving any encouragement or any sort of inspiration. So if there's not a good community support, it's just better to remain in my own isolation, you know, and just mute everything in the background so I can at least continue and have my own self, you know, encouragement and support. And that's something that I think all artists in different stages of their art journey go through.
Yeah.
But it's great to have that community support. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And I thought I knew what community was at some point in my life until, you know, my sort of, I forget what the expression is, but, you know, falling to my knees kind of moment. And my therapist actually told me, you know, you really need to cultivate a supportive community. And I was like, wow, that is such a frustrating question and statement to make to me. I'm like, don't I already have that? And so it, you know, was an immediate answer. But over the years, what I realized was that I needed to sort of extend myself in a way that I hadn't, to be a part of community, to insert myself into the community, to be supported when those moments were required, you know, symbiotically. So actually a few years ago, I had an art studio, like a full business at C Space King Edward in Calgary. And it's like, my space was a hub, sort of a creative hive, and I had workshops going all the time, and I had to have surgery again. And it was a really hard moment for me to like, but I'm creating this community. How do I just walk away? And I realized this is one of those community moments. I don't walk away. I just you know, open the door to my friends, my community, and say, you can run it in my absence. And it ran, you know, for, I think it was at least 3 or 4 months without me. It was really neat.
Wow. That's really inspiring. Thanks for sharing that. This next question is a little bit different. If you could change anything about yourself, what would that be?
Oh, yeah, confidence. It's a funny word for me because sometimes I hear people that say, oh, you seem like a really confident person. How could you struggle with confidence? But I have always this, you know, critical mind that just, you know, it's negatively repressing me to go forward. And I'm always having the internal dialogue and coaching myself out of listening to the negative self-talk that's on the shoulder. Listen to the good girl on this side. So yeah, if I could change anything, I would yeah.
Cool. Now at the beginning of our conversation, you said you also identify yourself as a multidisciplinary artist.
Yeah.
Would you like to explain that further?
Yeah. So it's a great umbrella term for a person like myself who I like to dabble in all things creative. So if I could have a wood studio and I could carve, or maybe I could be like a digital art designer. I do a lot of that work. I work with, you know, involving photographs, digital designs, and painterly things, and they all culminate into one finished piece, and that you could hang on a wall. So those are using multi-disciplines to create a single piece.
Great. Do you also, or have you ever tried making installations as well?
Yes, actually. So last year, Loft 112 is a local studio, and they're kind of like a writer's hive, but they've branched out into like all types of creativity. So they have beautiful wall space that they've started to create art shows on. So I've shown on those walls before, and actually in a really neat kind of collaborative way where a poet writes a poem, the artist chooses which poem they want to illustrate and create a piece for, and so the two get shown together, the poem alongside the creative work, and then on a really fun night the poet reads their work alongside the painter, talking about why they created the work they did because of that poem. So
that's interesting.
Kind of an interesting thing. But installation wise, the same place, Loft 112, they had a card catalog. Like, so back in the day, we used to have Dewey Decimal card systems for library to find your books. And so there were these beautiful cabinets that had like the little small drawers. So being that this place, Loft 112, is like a writer's place, it seemed like really fitting. And again, they were inspired by a show that they had seen in the States. I think it was Brooklyn Museum of Art or something like that. And they had a similar type of show where each drawer was an installation by an artist. And so I got to be a part of that show at Loft 112 last year.
That sounds like a very interesting show. I've heard various variations of that kind of, you know, setting of having things in the drawer. Yeah. And it adds some sense of mystery to it, I think. So
it was really neat to see the people investigating each of the drawers and seeing how each artist took their approach to it.
Cool. Well, my next question is even more interesting.
Good. Love it. Keep it coming.
If you could have a superpower, what would that be?
Ooh, superpower. I guess it would be something to do with creative healing and just, you know, when I work with people that may or may not define themselves as an artist, but I am showing them how creativity can be empowering and healing and beautiful journey and all those things. there's that intrepidation of disbelief and fear on their part to just start and to trust that they do have a creative edge in their body. And so my creative power would be to dispel that myth for them and just let them in to their own creative voice a little quicker, but with the same value of learning that journey.
Freedom, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, because I think there is something really valuable to struggle, right? In struggle, we learn about ourselves. I don't think that struggle has to be as painful as the one that I lived to get to where I am today. Like, to almost die and to have a really bad illness that, takes you away from living most of your life. Like, I don't wish that upon anybody. But the journey has definitely sculpted me, has defined my process, has defined my, my voice.
Wow, beautiful. I guess you already have that power.
A little bit. Just want to make it a little shorter for some people. Because I really have had people say, no, I don't have a creative bone in my body, I'm not doing it. And they walk away.
Yeah, I've seen those people as well. But yeah. It's almost impossible to believe that, because decision making is part of your creativity. And one of the artists that actually was on our lives, this is what she said. She said every decision is a creative decision.
Yeah.
And I still agree with her.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do in creativity, and that's what your brain does. You cannot just take it outside of your brain and say that I don't have any creative intelligence or power or abilities, because you do it and you are using it every day.
It's like painting yourself into a corner, right? Like,
yeah,
when a person, when you visually imagine that, how do you get out of that corner? Well, you have to solve how to be out of that corner, and that is creative problem solving.
Exactly.
And businesses today are actually looking at creative thinking, innovative thinking, because they know that that is really where the best inventions have come from, right? Is
of course,
giving permission to the common employee to creatively, embody something that's never been thought of before.
Exactly, and that's also the best investment, in my opinion. So, Paula, my last question to you is that how our viewers can reach out to you, where they can find you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. So here I am on Instagram as Paula Timm Artist, and I'm on Facebook as well as that, and just recently on TikTok as Paula Timm Artist. I have a website called paulatimm.com, and my last name is T as in Thomas, I-M-M. So it's paulatimm.com.
Great. Well, thank you so very much, Paula, for joining me today. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure we'll talk more about this theme and anything creative and artistic. If you have anything else you would like to add, please go ahead.
Oh, well, I just wanted to thank you for both what you do for the community of artists through Loud Art Society. It's so valuable. It's needed. I know it's sometimes a thankless job, but you have provided this world something so beautiful. So thank you for that. And thanks for inviting me today. It was so great. I loved it.
Thank you so very much. That's very kind of you. I guess I'm going to talk to you later. And thanks to everyone who joined our live this morning. We'll see you tomorrow again.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.